Tonight, the Prime Minister lands in Europe to strengthen economic and security ties. The surprise stop on Mark Carney's itinerary after dropping counter tariffs on American products.
The next order, I'm hoping they'll have adjusted the prices at the companies so I can adjust my prices.
What the latest trade move means for you. Why there could be more turbulence on the horizon for Air Canada.
There's a lot of angst that's being expressed by the flight attendants.
Plus, aiming for excellence as Winnipeg welcomes the world.
Try not to think about anything, just have nothing in my head and just shoot.
The competition going beyond bows and arrows for these young archers.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Europe tonight, hoping to build trade and defense cooperation with key allies. Canada has pivoted across the pond as tensions simmer with our southern neighbor. Ottawa is also expected to show its support for Ukraine. CTV's Abigail Beeman is traveling with the Prime Minister and reports from Poland tonight. Abigail.
Heather, this is a trip about trade ties and defense. Senior government officials say we can expect some defense spending announcements, while the Prime Minister said before leaving he wants to deepen connections with our allies here in Europe.
Canada is a good partnership with Germany. It's been built up over the years, but it can be much, much better, and I'm confident that with this Chancellor and the focus of our government that it will be.
Meeting the German Chancellor is just one of a number of sit-downs planned between Prime Minister Mark Carney and leaders in Germany, Poland, and Latvia. As the trade war with the United States continues, Carney has been focused on diversifying trade, especially with Europe. Canada's energy and critical minerals are top of the pitch list. The natural resources and industry ministers will be here for parts of the trip as the Prime Minister meets with business leaders in addition to politicians, including CEOs of major German firms, though government officials won't say yet which ones. And on defense, the trip unfolds against the backdrop of an increased push for peace talks and intensified fighting in the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine is on the agenda for Carney's talks with world leaders, and he will meet Canadian troops in Warsaw and in Latvia, where about 2,000 troops, as part of Operation Reassurance, make up our largest contribution to NATO over the past decade. Canada has now helped train more than 45,000 Ukrainian soldiers. Here in Warsaw, senior government sources say Carney will stress Canada's continued support for long-term peace and security in Ukraine and discuss significant economic opportunities, especially in defense and energy. Heather?
CTV's Abigail Beeman in Poland tonight. Abigail, thank you. Some Canadian businesses are expressing a sense of relief tonight following Ottawa's pledge to remove retaliatory tariffs on American goods covered by the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has reaction to the move and how it could help you.
It's here Canadians will likely feel the most relief come September 1st. In the aisles and at the checkout counter, Canada's decision to drop retaliatory tariffs could be noticeable.
It's been tough. Last few months, some of the companies that we buy from are from the U.S. or bring their products in from the U.S., and the price difference was just crazy.
The move for Margot and James means increased costs, which she says had to be passed on to the consumer, can be reduced again.
I can't wait till that happens. The next order, I'm hoping they'll have adjusted the prices at the companies so I can adjust my prices.
But this small store is just one example.
50% of small businesses in Canada actually import from the United States. So retaliatory tariffs have a real impact on many of them.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business applauded the government's move this week to drop counter tariffs, but called for it to be a first step.
What we believe the government needs to do is, of course, try to get the best deal possible as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, they have collected a lot of tariff money. And so that money should be returned in some format to affected businesses.
And the move hasn't come without criticism. In a statement, one of Canada's largest unions, Unifor, said it undermines Canadian workers and weakens Canada's bargaining position in an escalating trade war. Some experts have said it could help negotiations.
By lowering these tariffs, that's a big olive branch that the Canadian government is offering to the United States administration, and that's really critical at this time.
When pressed on it Friday, the Prime Minister offered this.
Do you have any assurances from the Americans that this will kickstart negotiations? Did President Trump specifically say that in his conversation with you?
Yes.
The Prime Minister has indicated Canada and the U.S. have agreed to intensify trade talks, but there is still no indication on a timeline for a deal, which means uncertainty remains the biggest challenge for businesses. Heather?
Jeremy, thanks. Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne says the federal government will table a budget, the first under Prime Minister Mark Carney, in October. He calls it an ambitious plan to deal with the impact of U.S. tariffs.
The tariff situation has been evolving, so the fact that we have a budget in October is helpful because by that time, we have more certainty. We are able to provide a better picture to Canadians. And I think what people want to have is that very rigorous approach to budgeting, and that's what we're going to propose.
Nearly all Air Canada operations have returned to normal after last week's strike, though the battle between the airline and the flight attendants union is far from over. A tentative deal was brought forward, but as CTV's Kamal Karmali heard today from flight attendants, they may overwhelmingly vote against it.
Things are moving along once again at Toronto's Pearson Airport. A week after a flight attendant strike grounded all Air Canada planes, today Alexandra Lalonde is finally able to go home.
I was originally supposed to fly from Pearson to Kelowna, and it was canceled last Saturday. And then kind of same thing as everyone else, it wasn't rebooked, couldn't get through to call.
Air Canada said Thursday it'll cover hotels, meals, and ground transportation for passengers whose travel plans were disrupted.
Air Canada is also being vague and being difficult with passengers who booked their tickets through Airplan or through a travel agency.
While some passengers are still battling Air Canada for compensation, its flight attendants are doing the same when it comes to wages.
Flight attendants are crying.
The airline and the flight attendants union struck a tentative deal Tuesday that would see a 12% wage increase for less experienced employees, an 8% bump for more senior staff right away, and 50% of their hourly wages for 1 hour of work done before takeoff. All of that would see incremental increases over 4 years. And that's getting pushback from some union members who are set to vote on the proposed deal next week.
Now, CTV News has spoken to multiple Air Canada flight attendants who tell us that they are going to vote no on the tentative agreement, saying it doesn't give them enough of a wage increase.
Flight attendants speaking to CTV News anonymously, fearing repercussions from their employer, say they expect most flight attendants to vote against ratifying the deal because it would not allow entry-level workers a decent living wage and doesn't address concerns around payment for a delayed or canceled flight.
It's really, food bank wages and, make people to a living wages. So there's a lot of angst that's being expressed by the flight attendants.
Air Canada declined to comment, but the union told CTV News our members forced the company back to the table with a better offer except on wages. We will respect whatever decision is made by our members. If that decision is to reject the deal, flight attendants can't legally strike. Instead, the wages portion of the agreement would be decided by an independent arbitrator. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
An Air Canada flight from Pearson to Las Vegas was forced to make an emergency landing in Chicago overnight due to a disruptive passenger. The incident was resolved and the flight made it 3 hours late. Hurricane Erin weakened to a post-tropical cyclone and never made landfall, but still packed high winds and dangerous waves across the U.S. East Coast. Most restrictions along American beaches have now been lifted, but there was some flash flooding. A fourth Portuguese firefighter died today as the country experiences a wildfire season that's seen almost twice the amount of land burned compared to last year. Neighboring Spain is experiencing its worst wildfire season in nearly 20 years. 4 people in that country have died and a record 403,000 hectares have burned. Firefighters battling flames in Atlantic Canada could receive a little help with rain finally in the forecast, and it's needed. Nova Scotia's largest wildfire grew again overnight, fueled by winds. CTV's Garrett Berry on the latest fire conditions.
They're very, very happy and excited to get back in their homes, get a little bit of life back, something else to call home instead of living up to school with other people.
A step towards normal today in Newfoundland's Conception Bay North. While helicopters continue to work overhead, hundreds of people are back home this evening as evacuation orders have been lifted for a handful of communities.
I feel for other people. Some people will never get back the things they lost. They'll never be able to put their home back. I would say could be close to 50% of the people that lost their homes don't have insurance.
Chris Delaney says he's lucky. He did lose one of his properties, but he has others, including a vacant lot in Northern Bay, which he believes can and should be converted to emergency housing quickly.
I can start as soon as probably Monday. I have all kinds of contractors. I have volunteers to come from Ontario.
That's if there is support from the provincial government. And so far, officials have said it's still too early to tell what kind of financial assistance programs they might put in place. That's because we still don't have a full understanding of how destructive this wildfire was.
In Nova Scotia, government officials are also asking for patience.
We need extended rain for multiple days before it has any real good effect on this fire, or on the fire ban, or on the woods travel restrictions.
Rain in the forecast on Monday is giving some hope, but the out-of-control Long Lake wildfire is still growing, and officials are warning one single day of rain isn't going to change everything. Roughly 200 people are still evacuated from nearby West Dalhousie, with no exact timeline for return. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
The brutal heat and lack of rain leading to significant drought conditions in the prairies. But a bone-dry summer isn't the only major concern as harvest season gets underway. Stifling Chinese tariffs on canola adding to the anxiety. And as Alison Bamford explains, the issue already has farmers making some tough decisions about next year's crop.
From the field to the bin, getting this year's crop off the ground is the #1 focus for farmers. But the uncertainty in the price of their most valuable seed isn't far behind.
It's just too much stress at the wrong time of year.
Canola is a cash crop for many Saskatchewan producers. It's what drives their profit. But Chinese tariffs are putting that in jeopardy.
It's urgent for farmers. We need action, and we need it now.
Premier Scott Moe discussed his action plan with Ottawa earlier this week, believing Saskatchewan is the obvious province to assist the federal government in negotiations with China.
We need to engage at every level. Myself will be in China in the couple of weeks with potentially another opportunity for engagement before the end of the calendar year.
The federal government has hinted at several actions it could take to help the industry, right now looking at domestic policies, regulatory supports for producers and processors, and expanding to other export markets.
One marketplace in terms of trade diversification or multiple may not replace one Chinese market. But if you do that work multiplied over many different jurisdictions and we can look at what we can do internally, there's an ability to try to help mitigate the situation.
Moe fears the situation with China could drag on, throwing a snag into next year's growing season as soon as the dust settles on this one.
Right now we're looking at fertilizer purchases, we're looking at seed purchases. We have to make a plan for next year. Crop planting starts now. So it makes it very, very tough for a farmer to make a good decision.
Prime Minister Mark Carney wasn't present during this week's meeting, but his parliamentary secretary told reporters the PM hopes to visit the prairies and meet with the canola sector in the next couple of weeks. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Coming up.
You want to lose your leg or what? Or your life?
The daring incident sparking questions about rail safety. Plus, guess the mileage on this 1985 Toyota Tercel. Toronto police have identified the 19-year-old killed at a popular mall in Toronto. They say his death was a homicide. The man's been identified as Daniel Amalathis. Police received a call about a person shot at Scarborough Town Centre around 2 p.m. on Thursday. A shopper discovered his body inside a family washroom. An inspector says a firearm was found near the body and that it appeared a single shot was fired. Amalathis was pronounced dead at the scene. No suspect information has been released. A young Ontario man filmed jumping on a moving train is getting a red light from rail safety advocates, warning of the rise of similar illegal incidents across the country. Here's CTV's Brent Lale.
Video shows a young man testing out the speed of a moving train in downtown London. Moments later, he returns and jumps on the side, riding it for a few meters.
They were taunting the train, basically, tons and tons of heavy metal, and they were touching it and playing with it.
Christopher Bogle is often the eyes and ears in the city's core. He took out his camera and started recording.
They saw me filming. I even yelled out to the one guy,
"You want to lose your leg or what? Or your life?"
And he thought it was a joke.
The incident is the third notable one involving rail in the past week. A person was charged with surfing on a Via train in eastern Ontario. Then in White Rock, BC, video showed a woman and multiple children crawling under a stopped train rather than waiting.
Our mission in Operation Lifesaver is to try to get to zero. So 0 crossing incidents, 0 trespassing, 0 deaths, and 0 injuries. And unfortunately, we have some work to do to get to 0.
According to Operation Lifesaver, rail trespassing incidents are up 46% this year over the historical 5-year average. Serious injuries related to rail trespassing are up 250%. A CPKC spokesperson says fines could reach up to $50,000. And climbing and riding train cars and other equipment is both illegal and extremely dangerous. A month away from Rail Safety Week and just days from Western University students returning, safety advocates warn against trying to impress friends or gain social media clicks.
With frost weeks happening, we know that southwestern Ontario has a ton of rail and is a hot spot for incidents. So we are reminding people to do their part to stay safe by staying well back and staying off the tracks.
As for Bogle,
this is almost a deja vu a few years ago.
It was then when he witnessed a woman carry her child over a stop train at this same location. Both incidents could easily have been fatal.
When he did jump off, you could tell he sort of slipped a bit, and that would have been it.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Still ahead tonight.
Worked 48 hours straight of just logistical nightmare.
How the Air Canada strike threw a curveball for kids trying to reach PEI. Air Canada planes are flying again, but when the strike grounded flights, it left hundreds scrambling for days. That includes a boys' baseball team trying to reach the national championships this weekend in PEI. CTV's Maria Saru looks at what they went through to make it to the ballpark.
Behind the fence, a fastball flies. Team Saskatchewan almost didn't make it to these national championships, but players' parents sacrificed their plane seats so these boys can bat at the Ray Carter Cup.
You know, I was pretty sad that they had to stay back.
We're definitely going to use it as a little extra motivation for this whole tournament, just because we all want to play for our parents, all the parents that didn't get to come.
The Air Canada strike canceled their flights, and the team scattered across 3 airports, flying on other airlines. The team's chef de mission says the families didn't want the moment to slip away.
It's one opportunity for some of these boys to represent their province, and they may never have another opportunity.
An even longer trip for Team Manitoba. They had to catch a bus to Minnesota, then fly to Philadelphia, and from there to Maine, where they boarded another bus and finally arrived in Summerside, PEI, 3 days after their journey started.
There's a point in this whole process where we thought we weren't going to be here at all. So I think everyone's excited just for the opportunity to come and play.
Team Quebec also bussed in. The changes added thousands in costs for families and organizers, but it was worth it, says the city's events director.
Our transportation team worked 48 hours straight of just logistical nightmare. We're happy to have them all here.
With the scramble behind them, the focus for this weekend is the scoreboard and the fun. Maria Saru, CTV News, Summerside, Prince Edward Island.
A Nova Scotia man and his car have reached a major mileage milestone.
And I was keeping a sharp eye on the numbers on the odometer there. Had the camera already. When it started to come with the 9s, I pulled over to the side of the road and I took pictures of the 9s because I knew most people would never believe me in time to come that it had 1 million+ kilometers.
That's right. Andy Campbell's 1985 Toyota Tercel has traveled more than 1.2 million kilometers. He bought it in 1990 in Halifax for $2,500. He's traveled across Atlantic Canada many times and hopes it will reach 2 million kilometers one day. Still ahead tonight.
I just tried not to think about anything.
How a young Ukrainian archer stays on target. We leave you tonight with the precision and skill of athletes aiming for excellence in Winnipeg at the World Archery Youth Championships, one of the biggest international events. And as CTV's Alex Carpa shows us, for some athletes, this is far more than just a sports competition.
Serhii Senura has one goal in mind, winning the competition.
Yeah, it's pressure, but, to be the best, you have to beat the best.
He is from Western Ukraine. He has been practicing archery since he was young and has been involved in many tournaments. But the last 3.5 years have not been easy for him. Ukrainians like Senura continue to see Russian bombings hit Ukrainian cities as peace talks heat up. Senura says he tries to put all that aside and focus on the task at hand.
I just tried not to think about anything and just to shoot, not even think about the shot, just have nothing in my head and just shoot, yeah.
The championships are held every 2 years in a different country with world titles at stake in the under-21 and under-18 age groups. New Zealand competitor Zach Campbell says he's never been to a competition this big before.
I've been to a couple international competitions in Australia, but they weren't quite as big. Never seen this many targets before. It's amazing.
Bringing in competitors from all around the world requires a lot of manpower to make an event like this happen. But due to the Air Canada strike, the organizer says they are lacking volunteers. The strike also forced 9 countries to back out, and several competitors arrived right before the event started. To accommodate this, the schedule was heavily condensed, making it the largest and tightest competition in World Archery's history.
We've had to really pack a lot of action into a few short days.
Despite the challenges, the event went as planned, and Taylor says this competition is often a springboard for athletes moving forward in their careers.
My son won a silver medal in Madrid in 2019, so for a lot of these parents as well, it's a super proud moment.
As for Senura, the Olympics is his goal.
I think that I've got some chances to win.
But for now, he's focused on winning this competition. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
That is our newscast for this Saturday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
Canada's #1 newscast for excellence in journalism.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, winner of the Canadian Screen Award for Best National Newscast. Watch weeknights at 11.